Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about Network Marketing. I am BK, and on the other end, Dr. Wayne.
Hi, everyone. Hi, BK.
So, if you are watching us, you will be seeing something pretty new today.
Yes.
We have just switched up the game a little bit, and as we mentioned, this season, season 3 is about impact, and it's about delivering more impact to the community, and we are also upping the production value of what we are doing so that it helps all of you. So we have been doing 2 seasons already. This is our 3rd season of Candid Conversations about network marketing. And as usual, Dr. Wayne, on the other end, he's a good friend and also my co-host. And we have been doing this for almost a year, right, Dr. Wayne?
Yeah, it has been. Time really flies. Yeah.
It flies when you're having fun, right? It flies when you're learning as well.
Oh, definitely learning, yes.
So if you do want to check out the past episodes, please check the link below, which is at networkmarketerpodcast.com. It's at networkmarketerpodcast.com, where we archive all the previous episodes, as well as you are able to access the show notes. We do have show notes. Dr. Wayne has very kindly prepared the show notes. Back in the days when we didn't have show notes, we used to start the show with a very common question. And perhaps just for reminiscence sake, I'm going to ask Dr. Wayne. Hi, Dr. Wayne. What are we going to talk about today?
That does go back a little while. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So today we're going to be looking at, with regards to the physical body and how important the physical body is in the manifestation of what we want in our life. From an ancient medicine perspective, this in all the ancient texts, the words may be a little bit different, but they all say similar things, which basically says the law of the universal, the light of the universe. That's what I want. Yeah, the light of the universe finds it difficult to enter or will not enter if the physical body is impure. Meaning that if we don't pay attention to what goes into the physical body, the light of healing, the light of the universe, the light of wealth, the light of abundance, the light of great relationships, the light of having a great network marketing business basically is hindered because the physical body isn't at its standard. And this particular podcast, this one today, we're going to be talking about a viral pandemic that every network marketer has to understand. And this is not just network marketing, it's everyone on planet Earth. If we understand this, it just makes life so much more interesting. So it's called the viral pandemic that every network marketer has to understand. And it's not COVID, and it's not SARS, or it's not the swine flu, or it's not the bird flu or anything like this. It's basically the pandemic, the viral pandemic that rests between our ears. And from an ancient medicine perspective, another saying that we've said many, many times, and hopefully you're getting this because it's so important. When you get it, when the frontal lobe basically gets this information more and more and more, what happens then is where the reticular activation system, or that part of the brain now that goes looking for similar things, now is activated, and we start to find truth in this. And we've spoken about many times before, hey, BK, where if you've got the skeptical blinkers on, all you'll find is skepticism, because your blinkers will actually take you to the areas that prove your skepticism. However, if we have an open mind and we basically allow the frontal lobe to get the knowledge that's positive to us, then we can go to new heights. So from an ancient medicine perspective, the mistake of the intellect is the cause to all our disharmony, all our disease, and this is how viruses enter our brain, so to speak. So it's quite an interesting subject in terms of the relationship between the physical body and the mind, or the intellect.
It's actually fascinating because if you think about it in a sense, the word a virus is not exactly a living thing, right? It doesn't
Correct.
it doesn't replicate itself. It is actually purely a string of programming.
Yeah.
In essence, that's the definition of a virus, right? And which is interesting because what Dr. Wei is sharing with us today is talking about what is actually happening in our mind. And if the programming in our mind is wrong, then we open up the doors to even worse or even much worse programming to come to us in that sense, right? It's actually fascinating because if you think about a computer system, and all of us have computer systems,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you happen to have one virus already on your computer and you have not dealt with it, and the system is basically at risk, right?
Yeah.
There's a loophole in your security. Then it actually opens up the doors for other viruses to be much easier to come into your system. That's the same for even a computer world. So I am not surprised that it's the same for us as well. Right, Dr.
Yes.
Wei?
Very, very true. Great analogy there. Great analogy. So let's look at some scenarios, how the mind and what BK was talking about there. Remembering it's really important to understand this is no one's fault. And that's why BK and I love the word that the ancients use, which is mistake. Mistake meaning that we can actually do something about it. We can change it. We can fix it. And the same as a computer virus in a phone, in a phone or even in a on your computer. If you don't know it's there, it will run havoc and it'll do all its mischievous stuff, and you'll be wondering why the cursor's not working at times, wonder why certain keys aren't working, why certain things are happening on your computer. But if you're aware of viruses and malware that can come down onto your computer, because of that awareness from a frontal lobe perspective, then you can actually go, okay, what can I do about this? This is not behaving the way I'd like it to. And that analogy then can go through to our thoughts. So this particular part that we're going to go through now is just understanding it from an intellectual point of view, how these mistakes of the intellect now actually come in. And remembering from science, science basically suggests that 90% of who we are was programmed prior to the age of 7. And we've heard that now thousands and thousands of times, I'm sure. But for those people who are just new to it, so they're the two things that's really important to grasp. One is from an ancient medicine perspective, it's known as the cause to all disharmony, the cause to all ill health, the cause to all relationship breakdown, the cause to all money worries and debt. Whatever it may be, the cause to all disharmony is the mistake of the intellect. From Western medicine, they call it literally our thoughts were programmed prior to the age of 7. 90% of our thoughts were programmed prior to the age of 7. So let's just look at health, for example. And firstly, we'll look at the programming, how the programming can develop in a negative sense when we're, say, 3 years old. So I use the example of broccoli because a lot of us can understand if you're 3, you don't really like broccoli. So say, for example, now you're 3 and you don't like broccoli. And up until this particular day, your mum and dad are quite happy for you to leave it on the plate because they would like to think that one day you're just going to morph into eating the broccoli without much said. However, this particular day, mum and dad have actually done a whole lot of reading about broccoli, how important it is for the body, and how it improves genetic expression, how it actually whispers to your DNA and to your genes, how it actually helps to convert, if you have enough of it, how it actually converts the sun's rays into vitamin D, how it actually helps with sulfation with regards to liver detoxification, et cetera, et cetera. It just goes on and on and on. So they read all this information. They're excited. And now at the end of the meal, you go and you hand in your plate and the broccoli is on the plate, but mum and dad insist on how important this broccoli is. And they start talking to you about the importance of broccoli, etc., and what it does to the body, but you just starting noticing you're getting really emotional, you're getting upset. And by the time an hour's up of this debate that your parents are really trying to get across, you're now crying. So you go and have your broccoli and you feel really sick. You go over to the pot plant, you have a little spew, you come back and you go, here, Mum and Dad, here's my plate. So what happens now is we have a memory of that. Yes, even to this day, even if you're 70, you still might be able to remember that you don't like broccoli. However, there was a whole lot of other things that occur, because when the physical body is involved, the physical body now creates a vibration, whether it's positive or negative. It doesn't mind what the experience is. So it's setting up a negative vibration in this example. So yes, there might be broccoli, but what the subconscious also remembers is that Dad's got some glasses on that he doesn't normally wear. Elton John's playing in the background. Mum has a red dress on. For whatever reason, Dad loves the Vikings movie, and on the bottom of your plate, he loves it so much as all your plates have got this Viking embossed emblem on the bottom of the plate. And during the conversation, Mum slams down her fist on the table and said, if you don't eat your broccoli, from all the science that I've been looking at, you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. Now, from that day forward, don't like Elton John. It's not that he's gay. I just don't like him. I haven't been well for a long period of time. All those Vikings, I don't know how people like that movie, The Vikings. I can't put on a red dress. If I see a woman in red dress or red shoes, I really think just not good about them. And I can't wear glasses for very long. Now, the interesting thing is you now think that all those thoughts are you, even though you might be 35, 40, 50, 60, 70, you still have these thoughts, these subconscious beliefs, still don't like Elton John, still don't like the Vikings, and you actually think they're yours. No, they're not your thoughts. They're actually viruses. These are the viruses that BK and I were talking about, whether it be a computer or whether it be your subconscious mind. So now let's look at a positive way it can come in. Say, for example, it's lamb shanks. So you're eating lamb shanks and you're 4 years of age and you're noticing just everyone's laughing. There's this family unit. The uncles and aunties are coming over. It might be a Christmas. It might be a time where all the family get together and you're just noticing everyone's so happy. Dean Martin's playing in the background, or you might have a song that is just playing in the background, but I'm going to use Dean Martin, for example. Mum has a green dress on this time. There's dancing. Everyone sort of gets up at the end and there's dancing and there's music and there's just laughter and laughter. So every time you think of lamb shanks, you just get this warm, hearty feeling. If you hear Dean Martin play in the future, you'll think of lamb shanks. If you see Mum in a green dress, you go back to that time where the family was happy, where everything just seemed to be fantastic. So these are how these memories are evolved. So now we'll look at financial. So you probably come across these different sayings, but say now you're 5 years old and you're starting to understand, you're going to school and you're just noticing a lot of stress about finances with your mum and dad. And your mum keeps on saying, money doesn't grow on trees, and you just ask for some lollies or a toy or something like this. And the constant theme is money doesn't grow on trees. You notice that every now and again, the door is being, someone knocks at the door and there's a debt collector or someone there asking for money. Mum and dad are always stressed, as mentioned, and you hear constantly from mum and dad, we've got to work hard. We've got to get 2 jobs, 3 jobs to pay the bills. We're still not making ends meet. And, dad now says, this money thing, it's the root of all evil. I just can't get on top of it. It's terrible. And once again, these subconscious beliefs now are stopping you or stopping anyone from actually having the financial dreams that they actually would like. And this is why we've talked about it before, BK and myself, we talked about it, why 90% of people who set up goals or they have goals in their life, and 90% of people who know about the law of abundance, it doesn't work, because of these limiting beliefs that's basically sitting in our physical body. So now let's think of another time or another family whereby wealth comes easy, passive income is easy, legacy wealth is actually being created. You're 5 years old, same age, and you're playing Think and Grow Rich from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You're playing this great game, and you've actually started to be introduced to the children's books about how to actually grow wealth. You notice that earning a living is easy because you're noticing this through mum and dad, and you're playing these different games like Monopoly, the cash flow game, as said mentioned before, and you just feel fantastic about the experience of wealth with mum and dad because it seems so easy as well. And it's just even then your mum and dad take you to different little children's seminars about wealth creation, about how to actually do things. It's totally different than what you would normally come across in a normal family, for example. And I'll just use the third example now of relationships. So I believe there's three zones that every one of us really want to excel in. One is, as mentioned, health. The other one is then wealth. And then the other one is then relationships. But we'll look at the negative first. So, for example, mum and dad may be divorced, and there's this rift between the family, unfortunately, that started at the age of 4. You notice that mum is always crying. She's not as happy as what she used to be. It gets that bad because you're going between one family and another family, and there's so much rift and there's so much relationship breakdown that even the words come out of your mouth that I hate my family. Unfortunately, the alcohol now gets involved, and there's alcohol fights between other members and other people in relationships. And unfortunately, now you're starting to be bullied at school when you go to school as well. Now you might be 6, for example, and you're noticing this same sort of theme happens at school. So imagine now the great family memories. Dad is the best. He plays with me all the time. Mum, when she wears yellow, something magical occurs. I get this beautiful cake that comes over, or I'm able to bake and do things with mum that I've never been able to do before. We go on fantastic holidays together. We're always with family. We meet up with our grandparents, and we just have this great time. And the Beach Boys, whenever we go away, Dad puts on the Beach Boys. Whenever I hear this, I get tears in my eyes. God Only Knows, which is a great Beach Boys song. And mum and dad seem to be so happy all the time, and it just exudes this happiness that allows me now to have great relationships as I get older. So I'll just put it into a summary now. So now, for example, this has all happened, remember, prior to the age of 7, these negatives and all the positives. But I'll just talk about the negatives in terms of moving forward from an understanding point of view. So if we're looking at food, remembering now, for whatever reason, you don't like red, and this is now something that's with you for the last 30 years. You still don't like Elton John. Vikings don't like them, don't like wearing glasses. You still don't like broccoli. You seem to be always sick, and I'd rather eat junk food than good food because it's easier for me. Money is the root of all evil. I have to work hard. I've got to get 2 or 3 jobs. I get easily stressed over money. And it seems like the only way out is basically to get out of this stress of money is to drink alcohol. And I'm always seem to be running away from the debt collector. With relationships, I'm easily bullied. People take advantage of me. People seem to annoy me. And with regards to any type of groups of people, because you didn't like school, you find it very difficult to integrate. You've become more of an introvert. And you never seem to be in a stable relationship. Now, all this is the mistake of the intellect. All this now resonates in your body, as BK mentioned before. Just think of the computer that is now actually causing things to happen. It's programming your computer screen to do different things, and it literally is the same within our physical body as well. So any feedback there, BK? I know I've gone and discussed a lot there, but I think really important just to understand how it all happens.
I know, the thing about it was fine. Don't worry, Dr. Wayne. You were doing fine, and it's like I know you had a train of thought, so I didn't want to interrupt you as well, right? In fact, as I talk about family and parents and so on, I think what I'm truly thankful for is that I think my mom and dad has given me a superpower of understanding complex things easily. So I'm always thankful for that. So the thing is that some of the things that we have just mentioned might sound a little bit far-fetched or esoteric, or you don't really think, is it possible, or is that really possible? the easiest way to understand this for myself is this: is that if you think about, in fact, you will notice that they do say that memories are most easily evoked by the sense of smell. So when you have
Yes. Yeah.
a certain sense of, you smell something, almost immediately it triggers a memory of something that is related to that smell, right? And
Yes. Yeah.
it's fascinating. Now think about it this way: how did that happen? If there were no, just like what Dr. Wayne was sharing just now, if the scene that you were in, where mom and dad was scolding you about eating broccoli, and music was playing in the background, and then some mom was wearing a red dress, and all those things, they created entanglements with you, or what Dr. Wayne sometimes call them as tentacles, with you. And I'm very sure that in that particular scene, there was also a sense of smell. And pretty sure as well that if you smell something similar today, it will bring you back to that scene very, very quickly. That is
Exactly.
how it happens now. So
Yeah.
if you smell something and you remember a memory, this is exactly what is going on, the way that Dr. Wayne has described it. Dr. Wayne has described it. And of course, the other thing that that's helped me is that, I'm also a very recent student of the things that he is talking about. But and I was just having a conversation with a friend the other day, just to share with you, Dr. Wayne. I shared something with him, and he said, this thing sounds a little bit iffy. And I kind
Yeah.
of said, yeah, it does sound a bit iffy, but then very quickly it brought to mind another concept which I shared with him, and then he understood it. Because, it took between Copernicus and Galileo 100 years before the world as we know it understood that the earth revolves around the sun and not the other way around. So before
Exactly.
Copernicus was around, Copernicus was the first person to tell us that the earth revolves around the sun, right? When everybody thought that the sun revolved around the earth. And
Yeah.
he was treated as a madman, as a heretic, as a crazy person. And it took exactly 100 over years before Galileo came along and managed to convince the scientific world, even with a lot of effort, right, that
Yeah.
this thing that he said was true. So for 100 years, everyone was saying that whatever you said is iffy and sounds too far-fetched. So it's exactly what we are talking about now. When I first came into what Dr. Wayne was sharing about, it also sometimes felt, this sounds a bit iffy, sounds a bit far-fetched. But as you study it and as you open up your, like what Dr. Wayne said, be less skeptical, put down our blinkers, we start to realize that there might be some truth. In fact, science today is showing us there's a lot of proof in what we are just talking about. So
Yeah.
we encourage you to explore, even if you were just intrigued by what we are sharing today, just take it as a opening step to explore. I do want to clarify something with you, Dr. Wayne, what you just said just now. So because mom said the statement that if you don't eat this broccoli, you will be unhealthy or sick the rest of your life, right?
Yep.
And because you don't like to eat broccoli and you find that you can't seem to get healthy, it's because you have associated the concept of eating broccoli with getting good health. And because you don't like to eat broccoli, you kind of program yourself to be unwell, or you find it very hard to be well. Is that a accurate interpretation?
Yes. Yes. And it keeps going from that as well. Like now, what happens is the thought now manifests itself on its own. It doesn't need broccoli anymore. So that's why I went on then even to say that now we're choosing the wrong foods because we associate healthy foods with being sick. So, there's another analogy I use as well. So, if someone has diabetes, what do they crave? Sugar. If someone has heart attack or strokes or circulation problems, what do they typically crave? And that would be cheeses and stodgy foods, for example, and even fat, soft meats, etc. But for a vegetarian, stodgy food would be dumplings, would be the high carbohydrate foods that's more now fried in oils. So we actually then start to crave the foods that make us sick. And when you actually then understand that we've got trillions of bacteria in our gut, and each one of these bacteria needs certain food to live, when they're healthy, they will actually then choose the correct food. But when they get unhealthy, they will then actually send signals up to eat chocolate, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, all the foods that we know, unfortunately, can make us sick. So it does become its own thought once we embody that within the physical body.
Interesting and fascinating. But
It
like what
is,
we
isn't
said
it?
earlier on, this is a mistake of the intellect, which means that this
Yeah.
is a mistake in the programming. And
Yes.
like what we do with a computer, we can run an antivirus program and clean up the viruses.
Yes.
That's the hope for all of us, because we can, through certain efforts, be able to clean up the bad programming. That means, in other words, because it's a mistake, it can be changed or it can be corrected. And that is the hope that we want to share with everyone. Right, Dr. Wayne?
Exactly. And it's so, think of the scenario: you've just bought a computer and you don't know about the virus malware concept. You just don't know about it. So you bought this new computer, and unfortunately, within the first year, it just ends up with all these different viruses and malware. And after a year, you say, oh, these computer things, they don't work. My screen shuts down and I get this blue screen. The cursor doesn't do what it wants to do, and you throw the computer away. Because the frontal lobe was unaware of the knowledge of such a thing as a virus. So what BK and I are trying to do here with this podcast is awareness. The more the frontal lobe, the more you can become more aware, you can then actually look at things from a different perspective that's going to allow you, as the computer now, you get an antivirus software rather than throwing it away. You get an antivirus software, you get a malware software, you eliminate these viruses, malware, you fix it up, bang, the computer's working again. But you had to have the knowledge first to understand that there is such a thing as an antivirus, anti-malware programming, for example. And it's the same with the human brain. What we're trying to do here, and what hopefully we are succeeding in doing, is allowing you the knowledge to understand that this is real. It is not iffy. Like life, L-I-F-E, the middle word, the middle two letters of that is if. Life is iffy, so to speak. But when you actually understand what that means, it's supposed to be iffy to us, to allow us to develop more and more. And to put it another way, say if I've never smoked in my life. So guess what? None of my friends are smokers. I've never done drugs in my life. So guess what? I don't know people who do drugs. Guess what? The person who is a smoker, guess what all their friends are? Smokers. Guess who the meth friends are, who does meth? Guess what their friends are? Meth friends. So what happens is the law of attraction gives us exactly what we want. And the more that we can understand this, and if you want to do more research, there's two great books I'll put you to. And one is by Bruce Lipton, and he was one of the first scientists to actually prove to Western medicine that that your thoughts can influence your genetic expression, either positively or negatively, depending upon what we're thinking about. And one of his best books, or the latest books that really puts it together quite nicely, is something called Spontaneous Evolution. So Bruce Lipton, Spontaneous Evolution. And the other one that really goes into this quite deeply as well is Joe Dispenza and his book called Placebo. So if you want to, there's many, many more, believe me, there's so much more on this now that it's just incredible. And from an ancient medicine's perspective, this is not new science. This is the science. But from a Western medicine point of view, it's probably only a few decades old. But it's now becoming so mainstream when you go looking for it, because it's now everywhere. It is certainly now everywhere, that's for sure. So, yeah, and anything else there before I get to the last slide there, BK?
I mean, also the other thing that I just kind of thought of was that the whole reason why we are interested in making sure that we keep ourselves strong and healthy, or our physical body is in a good state, is because this is your support structure for becoming on your path towards the pinnacle of your success, or the mountain that you are trying to summit.
Yes.
Without a healthy, active mind and body, you will find it hard to embark on any journey, any task, any endeavor, right? That's why sometimes, as much as we want to hit the top ranks in our network marketing company, right? We want all these things, but yet you find certain days your motivation is lacking, your drive is not there, your energy level is not there. Sometimes it's not because you don't want it. Sometimes it's because your body is not tuned or not ready for action, right? You're sluggish, your mind is not alert, and therefore all these things are not helping you, right, Dr. Wayne?
Yeah, and to bring it home with regards to what I've just said. So say, for example, you do wake up today and you do feel vibrant, okay? And the first thing you have to do, after you meditate, of course, the first thing you have to do is go out shopping. And this particular day when you go out shopping, there's 2 or 3 women in red dresses. There's all these people with sunglasses on. You jump in the car, Elton John's playing, and you notice that there's this things that are happening around you that now actually trigger you, and I'll use the word trigger, and they will actually trigger you into a negative emotional state. And then when you come home, you wonder why. I don't really want to. I'm a bit lazy. I want to do this stuff. And as you said, BK, I want to do this stuff, but I'm just not motivated. I just don't want to. I'll just put it in the back burner. I'll just put it aside. So we can actually be triggered into a negative, even though we started off the day with a positive. So that's really important to understand as well. And we can start off with a negative, that's for sure, as BK basically said there as well. But just putting it into context with what we've gone through thus far. And then to look at this from the ancients in terms of the light of the universe will not enter, or the light of great relationships, or the light of great health, or the light of wealth creation will not enter as the physical body is impure. So think of it like the mind will then put out your goals. So your mind will say, hey, I want to achieve in my network marketing business $100,000 a month by December 2022, for example. So that as soon as you put that out into the universe, the law of abundance is already there for you. It has it waiting there for you. However, the physical body is the anchor, or the physical body is now the law of resistance. So if you feel not worthy of receiving that, or if you feel that you've got to work hard to achieve it, or money doesn't grow on trees, and it's all these type of things, the physical body is the vibrational essence that now actually stops the reality of what you have now as your goal. This is the importance of understanding this. And we call this the 3 pillars to achieving ultimate health, or achieving ultimate wealth, or achieving ultimate relationship. So the first is the frequency in terms of how you think. Always, they say 70,000 thoughts per day. Look at the frequency of how what you're thinking about all the time, and try to put it into the positive all the time. If you catch yourself, just go, oh, that's the old Wayne. The new Wayne wants to think this way. The second pillar is then understanding we have this communication highway that runs all through our body, and we can influence this communication highway. And then what we need then is the positive building blocks. So the positive building blocks in health may be then the right nutrients and the foods and the supplements specifically for you, the right nutrients for the right building blocks for wealth then might be, okay, what are the things that I can do every day to learn something new that's going to allow me to head towards more building my passive income and my wealth. And the same thing with regards to the building blocks for relationships. What can I do that's going to positively influence my relationship? And that might be just going up to your partner, going up to your children with no reason for doing it other than you want to, and just going up to them, giving you a big hug and just say, I love you. I really love you so much. And that type of feeling that you get from any one of those three, where your physical body now vibrates at an essence, frequency, where it now vibrates at an essence whereby it's sending positive signals all out to the universe through this signaling highway that we've got inside of our body. The building blocks in our being now resonates in the right way. What happens then is the law of attraction will now bring that to you, where and we talked about it before, haven't we, BK, where time seems to collapse, whereby something that may seem unachievable because of time, I'm broke. How can I own my own home in 3 years? I've done it. I know how to do that. And once you've done it, you do know time can collapse. So it's putting all this together. It's understanding it first, and then basically putting the steps in a way that's going to help you to move forward in your life.
Awesome stuff. That is, and that's why we are always hopeful, because once we understand this, and this is like a door opener, we then can take steps to take this out. And with that, I think we have wrapped up today's episode very nicely. Dr. Wayne, thank you so much. And as usual, we do have a fully fleshed out program, and you can see it at 5, numerical number 5, hiddenreasons.com. If you are fascinated by some of the things that we have talked about, we have a more complete discussion on this on 5hiddenreasons.com. And also a quick reminder again, if you do want to check out our previous episodes, it is all archived at networkmarketerpodcast.com. It's all archived at networkmarketerpodcast.com. So thank you, Dr. Wayne, for another enlightening, illuminating episode. We have more things lined up for you. And once again, just a quick reminder, if you find any of the things we share useful and helpful to you, do us a favor and help us to share it out, because the more people understanding this, we can truly help to change the world for the better. Right? And we do know that the world can be kinder, can be better, especially in these trying times. Right? So with that, we will see you next week. Bye, Dr. Wayne.
Bye, BK. Bye, everyone.